Should we do something about that?
Why do you care? Neither of us work here. I'm stealing from the register, and you apparently have just been filling all the condoms up with SpaghettiOs.
Oh yeah. These images are the only known pieces of evidence of a novel anomalous creature. This entity has been dubbed the Last Customer by its discoverer Leovincible, who against all Foundation protests decided that this sensitive paranormal information belonged on his very notable Twitter account. Someone's gotta take the SCP Foundation behind the bar and face it towards the sun and shoot it in the back of the head. There's no quality of life anymore. The Last Customer has been documented in a few different locations, but without fail, this creature appears consistently in retail stores. While the exact pattern of its appearances is yet unknown, this creature usually appears in stores that feel especially liminal, like large nationwide retail brands or particularly highway gas stops. You know the ones where they always look exactly the same regardless of where you are, and you're always there high as balls at 3 a.m. and you don't even know how the fuck you got there, but you really hope you didn't drive yourself. This critter has appeared in several different scenarios in these stores, but it's most likely to appear at the end of the last shift, when the final customer is browsing the aisles, or the last employee is closing the doors for the night. All those who have had an experience with the Last Customer disappear soon afterwards. While there's no direct evidence connecting the cryptid to these disappearances, come on, idiot. I mean, that sounds kinda sus, but in my opinion, he's pretty cool. He didn't say shit when he saw me pocket that gum. It's not stealing if it's a big corporation or an old lady on the street, that's what I always say. To understand a bit more about this creature, we can examine its physical characteristics. The first very notable feature is its humanoid face. You got pretty close to looking like a person, but honestly, I think you crossed over into Uncanny Valley Clown a few steps back. Other than that, this pineapple-looking ass has a large amorphous blob of a body, with a variable amount of arms that all connect to it, somewhere conveniently located off-screen. No telling what the hell this thing's body actually looks like. It's almost as if it is intentionally designed that way. But we're gonna ignore that. In some more detailed depictions of this monstrosity, we can see that the flesh around its face and extremities are raw and red, as if they've been somehow damaged. Perhaps in an altercation. The creature is often tangled in between the shelves. Spaghetti noodle-ass arms in and out of every hole. It looks like it doesn't have any bones in its entire body, which could lead to our next theory about what this is. While the prevailing theory that I just made up is that this guy is just like any other big dumb animal and he just loves Doritos, others have a different theory. Some believe that this creature is connected to the stores that it lives in, living in between the pipes, vents, and shelves. I think that each of these creatures is a separate entity, that at some point found a store to graft onto. This creature is a species that remains connected to this retail store its entire life, like a snail protected by its shell. See, the thing is, the store is a snail shell, but it's also a spider web. The chip dust and snack cakes lure obese clients to the Last Customer like flies to, well, flies like snack food too, so. In summation, I view you all as pests. This entity likely remains dormant in the vents and pipes of a store before finding a sole victim in a dark part of the store late at night, at which point it uncoils its horrible flesh pile from inside the vents to entirely consume its confused victims, or something goofy like that. To be entirely honest with you, I don't care what he is. He didn't say shit when I bought a bunch of zip ties, a pocket knife, a rag, some chemicals, and also a Snickers bar, which I appreciate because I'm self-conscious about my weight, but I still like to treat myself.
Hey, dumbass, there's nothing left. Let's go.
Yeah, one sec. I just gotta get done covering our tracks. I mean, entertaining the wonderful fans back home. I'm gonna take a sip of water. My mouth feels all craggly. The Neighbor is a pseudo-humanoid entity first reported upon by anomalous investigator Leovincible. Leo posted an image of this creature on the internet displaying its strange form in detail. It has 3 arms, 2 where a human would normally have them, and 1 on top of its head. These 3 arms all rotate around the central point of its vacant slack-jaw mouth. This mouth is lined with large human-like teeth all dripping with snotty saliva. You know this man is both a mouth breather and doesn't brush. These teeth aren't sharp, but are rather used for mastication, similar to how a human eats. In the center of this mouth is a face, rendered immobile and held in place by the incredibly strong muscles in the creature's throat. The face inside the Neighbor is not actually a part of its original biology. That face is of its last human victim. The victim only exists from the voice box up now, as the rest has been entirely digested. The Neighbor has an anomalous evolutionary adaptation where it can manipulate the nervous system of the decapitated head through rudimentary electrical stimulation. The heads are technically still alive and conscious, but not in control of any of its actions. It's like I have no mouth and I must scream, but also really gross and nothing like that. All they can do is wait helplessly for the creature to find another victim and swallow their head to digest and then replace them. Through its manipulation methods, it can move the face and even speak through the mouth of the victim. It can do other things with that mouth too, but I can't show you that on YouTube. The voice sounds similar to that of the original humans, but because the methods of manipulation are simplistic, there are a lot of discrepancies. The neighbor will often use this ability to get humans out of their house. It knocks on the door of its intended prey and places the face of its former victim up to the peephole, obscuring the rest of its monstrous figure. You might think this wouldn't work. What?
Hello!
What do you want?
Hello, I am your real human neighbor and not a man-eating creature keeping your neighbor's head alive as a flesh puppet in my gullet. May I come in for a cup of sandwich? Ow, my nose!
Humans, even the smart ones, will believe almost anything you tell them. If you are dumb enough to open that door, you'll be in more trouble than I was when I replied to my teacher's end-of-class Kahoot by saying I wanted to shoot myself. Upon the human opening the door, the creature will seize one of the victim's arms in each of its torso arm's hands, and the head of the victim in its top hand. It will then swallow its current decapitated meat puppet and force the new victim legs first down into its gullet, securing its face in the back of its throat, and digesting the rest of its body. It then hooks itself into the nervous system of its new head. As is the life cycle of the neighbor, the only trail it leaves is an entirely intact, shitted out human skeleton. Nature is just so beautiful. I mean, not right now. This is an affront to life itself, but I don't know, go look at a spider web. The older one of these entities becomes, the more skilled it becomes at manipulating the human head's speech patterns and facial expressions. Over a short period, it can jump in language skills, starting along the lines of a child with fetal alcohol syndrome, and ending with something indistinguishable from the original human speech patterns. If not killed by a few years of age, it will progress at this neural manipulation from the proficiency level of a man attempting to put on a sock puppet play using only his penis, to a skilled marionette performer pulling the strings of its victim to perfectly imitate its voice. One of these creatures got so advanced that it actually rose through the ranks of corporate America and is now an executive at Papa John's. I don't know how many bones you have, but if you don't stop, that number's gonna double.
Dude, we just met. You know I only eat humans. This is about the no smoking code in the building.
If you call the cops, I'll tell them you eat people. The shelf life of a decapitated human head is very limited. I learned that from Paula Dean. As the head rots inside of the entity's gullet, the brain will get less and less functional, and the neighbor's speech patterns will decay along with it. Eventually, the creature will get desperate and become more and more bold in its attempts to capture a human, which sometimes leads to its death by the fatal condition of getting f***ing shot. She awoke in the dark, feeling cold, and scratched a new sore spot on her side. It was wet. In her confusion, she grabbed her phone and shined its flashlight at her side, revealing an incredibly shallow bite mark and the elongated fingers of something that quickly recoiled into the dark and disappeared without a trace. This image was the only evidence posted of this novel uncategorized entity, uploaded by investigator Leovincible, alongside the phrase, "Don't let the bedbugs bite." This is the latest in many independent investigators telling the Foundation exactly where they can stick their rules for distribution of anomalous media. Seriously, every time some bureaucracy tells me exactly how I have to walk through their red tape, I just want to strangle them with it. While an image and a phrase isn't a lot of information, it's still enough to get a baseline understanding of the creature in front of us. As always, on the AzFk show, we start by judging a book by its cover and examining the anomaly's physical characteristics. Its two giant red eyes alongside its scattered assemblage of smaller ones look primed for night vision. Giant pigmented pupils to catch as much scarce light as possible. While at first glance, with this creature's stark white, unnaturally smooth skin and two little slit holes for a nose, it resembles a gray alien. However, this would be an oversimplification of the monster's true nature based on appearance alone. Let's take a closer look. It has a set of jet black gums around a perfectly maintained set of human teeth. Looks like this guy's been brushing. While this entity looks humanoid in shape from the shoulders up, based on the other anomalies that we've covered, it would be naive to assume that means it has a humanoid lower half. If it does, it looks like it might be straddling whoever it's on top of, suggesting that if we want to learn more about this creature, we should check the state's sex offender registry. All jokes aside, we can likely gauge a deeper understanding of this creature and how it operates by examining its namesake, the bedbug. The bedbug, as many know, is a blood-sucking parasite that makes its nest in fabrics of human homes. Most often in the bed, because that's where it gets the easiest access to the most blood. Yours!
They crawl on you while you sleep.
These creatures are most active during the spookiest hours of the night, midnight to 3 a.m. They can sense body heat and carbon dioxide using their antenna, and use these signals to locate their prey. Bedbugs can also live without feeding for 3 to 6 months, even up to 300 days in colder climates. They have flat torsos until they feed, at which point they blow up like balloons. Bedbugs also don't carry any diseases, which serves as an evolutionary advantage. Don't want to kill off your food source, or give them any more reason to get rid of you. I know what you're saying. Why are you spouting off about a random species of bug? What are you, some sort of bug fucker? That has nothing to do with the situation. That brings me to what my theory about the original creature really is. I believe that this is an anomalous parasitic creature that lives in the dwellings of humans, feeding off of them for sustenance. Leovincible likely wrote, "Don't let the bedbugs bite," as a fun wink to the audience. But it could also signify that this monstrosity shares traits with the everyday pest. Like a bedbug, it takes root in someone's home and begins to feed while they sleep at night. It's almost impossible to drive away, staying with the prey, consuming their blood, slowly making them weaker and weaker until they wither away. Or something goofy like that. When it only has a few people to feed off of, such as an individual or a family, it sucks them dry quickly and needs to relocate. When it lives in a larger group, it can sustain itself for longer. In complexes, dorms, apartments, it can live unnoticed for years. In this one frat house, they put it through hazing. It's a member now. All the pledges have to get sucked off by it, and I guess that's better because they used to use a person for that. It isn't the goal of the bedbug to kill an individual, only to feed. But if it's hungry enough, it won't care for the fate of its food. This isn't malicious, it's just an animal, like any other. Like regular bedbugs, this creature can go long periods without feeding, and can reactivate from its inactive state upon detecting body heat or carbon dioxide from blood-having animals such as yourself. If it drank mine, I think it would just straight up die. Most creatures do. Game got really drunk, but that was a rare exception. The idea that this creature may be related to bedbugs make me guess again for what the red dots on the face might be. While I still think the two large ones, as well as some of the others, are solely sight organs, I believe that some of the red sense organs may be responsible for sensing things like carbon dioxide and body heat. This creature could use these like bedbugs, but take it one step further, and attempts to locate the largest populations of humans for the most assured supply of meals. I wonder if we put this guy in a crack house, would he get really high and then addicted? If we put him in a brothel, would he get an STD? What about if we put him in Wisconsin? Would he get diabetes? I ask the questions that really matter. Now let's say this critter is really close to bedbugs in nature. Like really close. Fun fact, bedbugs mate through a method known as traumatic insemination. Translation, the guy bedbug has a really sharp penis and stabs the ass of the girl bedbug and then nuts into her bloodstream. That wasn't very fun, but it was a fact. Nature is just so beautiful sometimes. I mean, not this. This makes me want to turn the entire earth into a fucking parking lot, but I don't know, go drink some ocean or something. The photo in question was likely taken when this bedbug had completely filled itself. Like a regular bedbug, it has a lower half that's just kinda like an empty balloon when it hasn't fed, and then it fills this stupid sack until it's bursting at the seams with other people's blood. Then it drags its fat ass away on its two front limbs. It may have been too overzealous in feeding in a large apartment complex, and got too obese to waddle away before someone pulled out their iPhone, or some shit like that.
Did you get to learn
The Primary Color Man. The Primary Color Man is a humanoid entity with a complexion of various patches split between the three primary colors. Preternatural investigator Leovincible has documented this creature numerous times in both picture and video format. The origin of this entity is still a mystery, although many horror YouTubers list finding him in the backrooms at 3 a.m. This creature only attacks the colorblind and idiots who don't know the three names of the primary colors. At least that's the only pattern I can gauge thus far from this inhuman monstrosity with a kindergarten level of education. Before anyone goes and calls this creature ableist, it knows. It's an inhuman monster that enjoys murdering people. I agree with you, I'm just saying it's a weird hill to die on. The Primary Color Man is able to manipulate various facets of sensory perception. For example, it's able to distort a human's visual processing center in the brain. It can make it impossible for them to focus their eyes, remove their perception of color, or increase their saturation and contrast until they're living in a deep-fried version of their own reality. It It can also give its victims incredibly intense synesthesia. This synesthesia is reported as tasting, smelling, and hearing the colors in such an overwhelming sense that it leads to total sensory overload and sometimes insanity. Some even report feeling the colors as temperature or pain. One of the primary color man's victims began writhing in pain and begging for death when shown the color red, profusely vomiting when shown the color green, and was banned from school zones and had to go door to door whenever he moved following his actions after being shown the color pink.
Did you learn your colors?
Dude, step back. Your breath smells like you hit a bong filled with pee. The primary color man is also capable of shifting his skin's pigmentation in order to camouflage against any surface like a chameleon. It uses this ability to stay hidden and stalk its victims, sometimes for years. It enjoys altering the human senses at a rate so gradual that they don't even know they're being changed. Slowly but surely, the human adjusts to what they think was always their reality. The primary color man camouflaged right behind them, snickering to himself silently as it relishes their anguish. Eventually, this will leave them completely dissociated with reality and will begin to act erratically and develop ludicrous beliefs. This entity is also capable of shifting its skin pigmentation to recreate any pattern consciously, not just one that it's in front of. It often disguises itself as a bloody, defiled corpse with streaks of red and tan and lies in wait for a passerby to see them. When the victim gets close enough, the entity will grab the sides of their head, holding it in place and lock eyes with them. It will then completely distort their senses so severely that it leaves them unable to process any sensory information from the world without descending into complete insanity. By the way, none of this was canon, I made it all up. If you like this video for some reason and want me to come back and talk about more weird nonsensical critters, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled, and watch all my other stuff, or I'll feed you to the last customer. Shout out the inner circle. Love y'all.